Good morning. Hey, Tanach.
Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi.
Hey, Kivan. All right. Hooah. Guys, if you want, it's not that necessary. You can get a chumash because we're going to be going through a couple of psukim back and forth, both Vayikra and Bamidbar. Just to know, Vayikra, we're going to be going in Shmini and Perek Yud Aleph. We're going to be going to Pasuk Lamed Beis.
I can't hear you, Rabbi.
Opa, that's not good.
I hear you.
Ivan? Because I was facing there, I was saying
it's just me.
that if you can get a chumash, if you want, it's going to be a little bit helpful if you like getting it mamash down to the nitty gritty. So you can just fold your page on Vayikra, Perek Yud Aleph, Pasuk Lamed Beis, and in Bamidbar we're going to be going to Perek Lamed Aleph, both psukim Nun Aleph, and then we're going to fly back a couple of psukim.
Rabbi.
Yes.
Rabbi Shais Taub says, if your chitas is falling apart, your life isn't.
Good. Oh, Danny's back. Good. All right, Chevra, let's go. Gavaldik. With the help of Hashem, we are learning Shabbos, Daf, Samach, Dalid. We're going to be continuing to learn some Hilchos Tuma und Tara, particularly regarding small items. And like we mentioned at the end of last year, even though we learned on Daf Chavav and Daf Chav Zayin that if you have a beged, for a beged to be susceptible to becoming tamei, it has to have at least the size of 3 by 3 finger breadths, shalish al shalish etzba'is, and quickly chaziting. Whenever we speak about a finger breadth, we are referring to the width of the thumb. Nevertheless, if a beged was milachatchila woven even smaller than that, but it was a beged woven for a purpose, the example we gave yesterday was our thin gartlach, then it is also considered a bona fide beged, and it is susceptible to becoming tamei. And we're going to continue to learn a braisa that gives us sources, not only for a beged, but the same thing is also by a utensil. Also, there is no minimum size of a utensil. When a utensil was made for a purpose, even if it means that the utensil is mamish very little, doesn't matter. Very little meaning it's even less than the 3 by 3, it is going to be susceptible to becoming tamei. There's going to be certain limudim that we will have from a Gzeira Shava, and we will have the opportunity to go over again to review the concept of Gzeira Shava Mufna. Now, don't forget that Gzeira Shava is a very powerful limud. But also there's a rule that Ein Adam Dan Gzeira Shava Elam Kain Kiba Loisa Rabbi. You can't make up your own Gzeira Shavas. Can you imagine? It says Vayidaber here, it says Vayidaber there. There's no limit to it. So Hashem told us which words are to be used for Gzeira Shava, and we have to figure out the words that we have are the words we have to stay loyal to. But from which parsha to which parsha, that is something that's open for debate. And if there is a comparison, but you can refute it, then it's refuted. So it's called lemeda, means you make the limud, but then it could be meshivin. Meshivin means to answer, it means you can refute it. However, if the words that we are using for the Gzeira Shava is mufna means that those words are extra, they're superfluous, they're freed up, they were only written for the Gzeira Shava. That makes the Gzeira Shava a lot stronger. So the rule is that if it's a Gzeira Shava mufna, then lemedim ve'ein meshivin. In other words, it becomes mamish immune to refutation. And then we have the machlokes, does it have to be mufna from both tzedadim, right? Or even if the Gzeira Shava is only mufna mitzad echad, do we still say that even though logically we should not be able to compare them, but it's mufna? That's something that we're going to go through here again. This happens very often. Shabbos Amar Daled. We're going to go me'inyan le'inyan. We're going to have a few drushes, a little bit of agadata, because we're going to mention the parsha as we already did. Benegeya kasherin kalim, benegeya toiveling kalim, from the story that we have in Matos, the war that we successfully won against the Midyanim, and then we captured their items and we brought it back to the camp. Some of it we gave noch as a donation to Moshe Rabbeinu. The Torah writes from the very few instances the words Vayikzoif Moshe, that Moshe was angry or Moshe was upset. Again, we're learning Gemara. The Pshat, if you open the Chumash, if you remember the Chumash in Matos, Moshe was upset. He said Befedish that Hein Hoy Levnei Yisrael B'Dvar Bilam, why did you allow the elder women, I mean women that are Roy Labia, to live? They were the ones that were the whole problem. That's the Pshat. But the Gemara is going to give us a whole different drasha, that when Moshe Rabbeinu saw the generosity of donations, Moshe Rabbeinu says, you're giving Azoifil donations, Nistama, you sinned. What Aveda did you do for which you feel you have to bring such a large kapara? And we're going to speak a little bit about that. That's going to lead us into the concept that kol ha-mistakel, even be'etzba katana shel isha, is ki'ilu mistakel b'makom ha'turfa. On Daf Samach Daled Amud Beis, we're going to open up the new Mishnah that's going to start enumerating finally the items that women are allowed to go out to in the Rishus Harabim on Shabbos. We're going to have a machlokes tanoim, whether a woman or a man is allowed to wear a golden false tooth. And as we have been learning in the sugya, there's two issues. If it's an ornament, maybe someone will take it off to show it off and carry it. We also learned the concept that if someone is wearing something that might provoke the onlookers to laugh at him or her, some people, when they're laughed at, they want to stop that behavior. So she might pull out the golden tooth. We're going to get into that sugya. We're going to learn, according to our Mishnah, the only two exceptions that we say that even though this item may not be worn, midrabanan, into the Rishus Harabim, however, in one's private chutzner, you are allowed to wear it, implying, and that's taka correct, according to our Tana, that whenever Chazal said a woman may not go out with that type of jewelry, with that type of ornament in the Rishus Harabim, we add to it. We say she may not even go out to it in her chutzner, because if she'll wear it in the chutzner, she might forgettingly go out to the Rishus Harabim. But there is the other side. The other side is that it's important for women to wear ornaments. We don't want her to be, if you want in the positive, you want for her husband to look at her and to see the beautiful wife. So there are two things that are ornamental, that taka may not be worn to the Rishus Harabim, but at least in the chutzner, she may wear it. And finally, we're going to have a very important and a general machlokes tanoi, whether we say, according to our Mishnah, according to Rav as well, that kol makim she'asru chachamim mipnei maras ha'ayin, right? So then we just spoke it out a few days ago. Then afilu b'chadrei chadarim, even though no one is observing you, is also that isur also continues. Other tanoim say no. If the problem is maras ha'ayin, so don't engage in that behavior when you are being seen by others. If you're in your innermost chamber, in your privacy, then you could do X, Y, or Z, and a lot more. And with that, we're going to begin where we left off on Daf Samach Gimel Amud Beis. Samach Gimel Amud Beis, 6 lines before the bottom of the Amud. beginning with the Braisa Tanu Rabbanan. If people would like, you can open up a Chumash. We're going to be going a little bit back and forth with the Gezerah Shava, both from the Parshas, from Vayikra Shmini, Perek Yud Aleph. We're going to go through Pasuk Lamed Beis, items that became Tameh from a Sheretz, and we will also be going through, as we mentioned in the intro, to Bamidbar, to Perek Lamed Aleph, Parshas Matos. We're going to go there to various locations where we will be discussing the Tumah of the Kalim that happened over there, and that's primarily the Kalim that became Tameh during that war, was Kalim that became Tameh through Tumas Meis, through corpse Tumah, and that, how all of that will be extremely important. And again, let's start inside.
Amen.
Right? My Rebbe told me, if you learn, you'll become a Rabbanan. Lenin. Ore kol shu, as we mentioned, if you have a woven garment, kol shu means it's smaller than the 3x3, but not like we learned on Daf Chavav Chav Zayin. There we were speaking about a garment from which a piece was removed, a piece was cut off. There we say, semer upishtim, at least 3x3 etzba'os. It could be used for a patch. It's chashuv, it's a beged. Here we're speaking about lechatchila, you wove a small beged. Since you made this beged in its size, there isn't a minimum shiur. It's considered a beged. If it's a beged, tameh means it's susceptible to becoming tameh. Same concept, not by garments, but by a utensil, by a keli. The takshit, even if it's kolshu, no matter how little it is, even less than 3x3. Also, if it was lachatchila made as it is, it's tameh that we had all above, and now we're introducing a new concept which we did not learn yesterday. If you have adig vitachshit kolshu, in other words, you have an article that's partially woven, it's partially a weave, it's partially ornamental. Neither part for themselves are b'chlal functional. The half of woven is like kaparas, same thing with the half utensil, but together it's like a tachshit. So here also, kolshu tameh. Now the Baraisa says enigmatic words that will have to be explained, that moisav or musaf saf ala beged, that a sackcloth is a garment that's made out of goat's hair. It's very rough, it's very coarse. That a sackcloth has something musaf, has something over a normal arig, has something over a beged, which is shetame mishum arig. It becomes tameh when it was woven. These words makes absolutely no sense. We just said in this Braisa that any beged, if it was woven the way it is, even though it's very small, it's considered a beged. It's susceptible to tumah. So we're going to get back to these words in a moment. End of Braisa. Amar Rava, like this. This is really concluding and confirming the lamunim we had yesterday. We had above on the Amit. How do you know that? Maybe there has to be 3x3. So that's from the Oy Beged. Then we're going to quote the pasuk inside. That's from the pasuk in Vayikra, Perek Yud Aleph, pasuk Lamed Beis. You know what? Let me just read it right now, but we're going to come back to it. Says the pasuk, "V'choy lashe yipoil olav mayhem b'moisam." We're speaking about the Shemona Shiratzim that died. They are an av. They convey tumah, and that whatever acquires becomes a rishon yitma. And the Torah enumerates. They call kliyates Oy Beged. Remember that? And that's Bechal throughout Shas. That's really a Machlikas Tanoim. What does the letter Vav mean? All of these Lamudim are predicated on those opinions that say that if the Torah would have written U Beged, it would have meant or. So the Vav is just as good as the Oy. Really, it's one extra letter. That's the Oy. So why write Oy? If or can be written with a Vav, why do you have to write or with the word Oy? Good to correct. So Oy is chalam all good. But no, Oy is extra, so that's the limit. Weiter says Rava, Tachshet Kol Shu Tameh. How do you know that? That's what we learned above from the tzitz. Kol Shu means that tzitz was only 2 finger breadths, and that's smaller than the standardized minimum of 3x3 etzba'os. And the final din, Arig Vitachshet, right? Like we mentioned, it's an article that's partially woven, partially ornamental. Tameh, where do you get that from? So here we have, now we're introducing a pasuk in Matos, that's Bamidbar Perek Lamed Aleph, and we're going to pasuk Nun Aleph. Again, after the war, we gave donations to Moshe Rabbeinu, And it says, Vayikach Moshe v'lozer hakohen es hazov me'itom. He took the gold. Then the pasuk adds, koil kli maisa. And the word koil, as we know, is we'll say from else. It's an inclusionary word from anything. And the Torah calls it a kli. Anything is a kli, even if it's a mixture, a composite. And who that pasuk that you just quoted, Mikol Kli Maisa, is b'Midyan Ksiv. That's written in the Parsha of Midyan. And as Rashi explains at the end of the Amid, the Parsha of Midyan, they were speaking about articles that became Tamei through Tumas Meis. It was a war. However, Sheretz, which is Parsha Shmini, is a lower level of Tumah. Maybe if what is conveying is Meis, then what can acquire is even a mixture, an article that's partially woven, partially ornamental. But maybe if the conveyor is only a sheretz, which is a lower level of tumah, maybe it's weak to begin with, it cannot convey it to this mixture, right? Answers the Gemara Amar Lei, to which Rava responds to the Rabbanan. Now we're up to Daf Samach Dalid. Kli mahasam. Have a look inside Rashi. By Shiratzim, as we just quoted, the pasuk that we quoted also says koil kli asher yeyasim melacha, etc. Now we know that that pasuk is speaking about Shiratzim. That parsha is speaking about Kalim. I know that, but it says the word kli. It says in this pasuk that we just quoted in the Gemara koil kli maisa. So here you have the same word kli b'negeya tumas meis. Now tumas meis. Here is we are also including ornaments, because the Parsha by Melchemes Midyan explicitly is speaking about the ornaments that we took from our enemies. Gavaldik. So here we are comparing, because of the kli, ornamental utensil, and we are comparing that whatever becomes susceptible, the negea tumas meis, will also become susceptible by tumas sheretz. Now, let's go back to the words in the Baraisa. The Baraisa says that Musaf Sakal Abeged, that a sackcloth is more susceptible than a garment. How is it? Where is it more? Shetame Mishum Arik, it becomes susceptible as a woven article. This mamish does not make sense. That was the whole chiddush. That if even a beged, if it was lachatchila woven to be the size that it is, so then you got yourself a bona fide beged. And just clarifies the Gemara, that Musaf Saifal Beged, Afapisha Eina Orig, by fibers other than goat's hair. For it to be considered a beged, it has to undergo weaving. But if something was put together not by weaving, but let's say by braiding, and here we're going to learn three madregas. There's twisting, which is the weakest. Then you have a bissel besser, starke braiding, and then you have weaving. So as we'll see, things that are braided together, a classical example will be many ropes. Even now, it's just fibers that were twisted together. Is it considered a beged or a keli for it to become susceptible to tumah? The answer is no, nisht. It's only twisted. What happens if something is already braided? So that's the difference. If it's made out of goat's hair, it's already considered a keli. If it's made out of other fibers, then it's only considered a keli if it's woven. Hold on, what? Yeah, in other words, there is something about goat's hair. There is something that goat's hair only needs to be braided. For what? It doesn't even need to be woven. If you have an ani, he wants to give a necklace to his daughter. He's an ani. What does he have? He has a goat. He will take a few goat's hairs, 3 nimen, and he's only going to braid them together. Necklace. Don't give this to your wife for yantit, but ani to his daughter. No, that's that has to absatachit, and that we don't find by other fibers. Very good. Says the Gemara Tanach Rabbanan. Again, if you want to open up a chumash, it'll be easier. If not, I hope to be good, articulate properly to understand it. But Tanach Rabbanan will learn in the Baraisa. Sak. This is a pasuk in Shmini. Vash taking the pasuk again, the same pasuk. I just quoted it. Something had contact with the dead shed. It's from the Shemina Shiratzim. They call Kliates. Oi, beggar, oi, we learned. Oi, suck. Or a sack. Sackcloth is a garment that's made out of goat's hair. It's very unrefined. It's very coarse. If it became tamei, then the way you get rid of the tumah is by bringing it in to water. Okay, Says the Braisa. Suck. Any other suck. How do you know that a breast strap or a girth? These are articles that were used to bind the harness to the horse properly. Okay, and these again are articles that they were not made. These kalim, the kilkali and the chabak, the breast strap and the girth, they were not woven. How do you know that they are also considered a bona fide keli? That's the oy again. The Torah could have written u sak. The oy sak is to be married by that. Maybe even include ropes and measuring strings, also made out of goat's hair. They were not even braided; they were just twisted. So the Torah says sak. The Torah does say sak. It has to be close to the sak. Masak. A sackcloth is both tavi and arik. It's spun and woven. Afkoil only if it's spun and woven. Now, taka even braided. So the even braided is from the oi. But the sak excludes only twisted. Now, says the Baraita Vaitzar, now, it says by a maze, we are going now to Bamidbar. We're going to Parshas Matois, but we're not quoting the pasuk that we quoted at the end of Samach Gimel Amid Beis. We're going now to St. Perek Lamed Aleph, pasuk Chav, right there. We went on a war, and the Kalim were tummy. That tumah was Tumas Meis, and the Torah says V'chol Beget V'chol Kli Oir, V'chol Kli all Kli Oir, V'chol Ma'aseizim, V'chol Kli Eitz Tischato. Guys, you know Tischato here means have to be purified. Right? Sometimes chet means a sin, and sometimes chet means purification, right? Mechatos. How ironic. But anyways, so it says v'chol kliyar, and the limud in this brayso is from the second v'chol, from the beginning of the line. V'chol ma'aseizim, all ma'aseizim, tischato, you shall purify the all. Lanabes al kilkali v'sachabok. That also could become, they are susceptible to corpse tumah. Now, even ropes, even measuring strings that are only twisted, maybe they also are susceptible to tumas meis. And the Baraisa says, you know what? Vidinu makes sense. I'll tell you why it makes sense. Because Timmy b'sheretz Timmy b'meis. We just quoted the pasuk in Vayikra. Here we're into Bamidbar, right? Shmini matos. Ma kishetime b'sheretz in Parsha Shmini loitime elotavi v'arik. So you would think, as we just learned above, af kishetime b'meis loitime elotavi v'arik. So based on that logic, you don't even need a pasuk to exclude the ropes and the measuring strings. So says the Braisa, hein. Hein means yes, but it's yes with a question mark. Azoi, is this logic correct? Is it indeed correct? No, it's not. I'll tell you why. Im hekel b'tamei b'tami sheretz and a chanami. When it comes to the sheretz being the conveyor, well, shehi kala, something that becomes tummy through a sheretz, you take it to the mikvah, it's taught that night. It doesn't need 7 days. It doesn't need mechatos. Mele, since the sheretz is shvach, it cannot be mitame, a rope. It was only twisted. But nakol b'tumas hameshi chamura, maybe that could be mitame. Maybe it could convey even to ropes and measuring strings. That's why we need a pasuk. Talmud loimer beged va'oir, right? And why do we learn from the beged va'oir? Beged va'oir gzeir shava. Then the beged va'oir puts together is a gzeir shava between sheretz and tameimes, and now we go through the psukim. Nemar beged va'oir in Shmini, when you get Tumas Sheretz, it says the words beged va'oir over here, right? We just read the pasuk. V'chol beged v'chol kliyoir in Matois, which is by Tamei Meis, B'meis. Now that we have this Gzeir Shava, ma beged va'oir on b'sheretz l'kina elotov v'yarik, right? And not something that's only twisted. Af beged va'oir on b'meis l'kina elotov v'yarik. Good. Hold on. Now the Baraisa continues. Uma, the first wide line, beged va'oir. What did you say? Because of the words kol ma'aseizim, that is inclusionary, right? And what did we include? We included the kilkili and the chabak, right? Right. We included those types of kalim that are made out of goat's hair, that they're already braided, and they tie down the harness to the behemoth. So af beged va'oir ha'amur b'sheretz, let's say, Tomei kol ma'aseizim, let us include these utensils, the kilkali and the chabak. Guys, don't jump, because the truth is, we were already marbe it from the oi beged. The Gemara is going to ask that in a second. But how do you know you could include it? Not how do you know? Now that we have a Gzeira Shava, so we include it because of the Gzeira Shava. So in the beginning of the Braisa, we included the Kilkali and the Chabak, that it could acquire Tamei from a Sheretz, from the Oi suck. And now we're completely machanavek from the Oi. We don't need the Oi. Now that we have a Gzeira Shava, we learn it from the Gzeira Shava. Now, ainly Eladav Abam Izin, Minayin, how do you know? Lerabis Davar Abam is Navasus. If you make these types of kalim from the tail of a horse or misnava para, how do you know that this is also included? Not if it's only twisted, but yes, even if it's only braided, it doesn't even have to be woven. Now you have the oil. So now the Gemara interrupts. Hold on. Didn't you use the oil kilkale v'chabak? So the Gemara says, yeah. Hanamili, when the Braisa began, before it knew the Gzeira Shava. But now that we have the Gzeira Shava, and we can include the kilkali and the chabak that it acquires to make tumas sheretz from the Gzeira Shava. So the oi, gavaldik, iyaterlei. So that is coming to include this nav behemas nafsus. Very good. Says the Braisa weiter. The ainly yellow sheretz, but tumas meis minayin, that even this nav, again, even the tail article, this kilkali and the chabak, made out of other coarse hairs, also are susceptible to becoming tamei. Says the Braisa, before we have a limud, v'dinu. I have a logic to include it, which is that timei b'meis, the timei b'sheretz. Maksh timei b'sheretz, we just included from the oisak by the sheretz and shemini, asei davar habam is navasus, is navaparik amaisei izim, af keshetimei b'mes, and mes l'chayr is more chamor. Mes means it should be able to convey it easier because it's stricter. I say devar habam is navasus is navaparik izim. So the answer should be yes from the din, from the logic, from the kal v'chaymer. So again, says the Braisa, hey, is it indeed so? No. It's not so. Logically, you can't do that. Which is im hirba b'tumas erev. Okay, sheretz. I know it's more kal, but now we're going with the opposite logic. We have so many things have the level of tuma from tuma sheretz. Sheretz is an av. So it's subject, many things that become tummy, most things that become tummy are subject, let's say, to tuma until the night, which is called tuma serev, which is takadadin. If something becomes tummy from an av, it only becomes addition. It doesn't need chivas nikiyim. You take it to the mikveh, you wait until the night. So im hirba b'tuma serev, shehu meruba, it's more common, is not a b'tuma shiva, which is mu'etes, it's more rear. So no, the kal v'chaymer can go the opposite way. How do we know that we include it? Not from a kal v'chaymer, but Talmud leimer, weited from the Gzeira Shava. It says beged v'oir l'Gzeira Shava. And again, we speak it out. Nemar beged v'oir in shmini in the tuma sheretz. It says beged v'oir here in matois b'meis. Ma beged v'oir b'tuma. So the din is that also from the oisak. From the oisak, that also davar habam is navasnus is navapara kemaisei, that yes, it is also susceptible because of the Gzeira Shava beged v'oir ha'amr b'meis. Here also davar habam is navasnus is navapara kemaisei. Okay, so in other words, we're using this Gzeira Shava to compare all of these dinim together. We have again the Gzeira Shavas from beged v'oir. Now says the Gemara fact. You need to know umufne that this Gzeira Shava, the words beged are superfluous. Therefore, they are freed up exclusively to be used for the Gzeira Shava, and that's a good thing because the lav mufne, if it would not have been a freed up a mufne Gzeira Shava, then takelamedim umeshivin. And what would I refute it? Ikalamifrach mal sheretz. Maybe sheretz conveys tuma even to an article that's made out of the tail of a sus and a para, because we see a chumra by a sheretz that it is mitame mitachshva. It conveys even only in the size of a adasha, in the size of a lentil. Right? We learned this so many times. Tumas meis, on one hand, is more chamur, but on the other hand, you need more. You need a kazayis min hameis to convey. And that will be a good refutation. Why don't we refute it? Because li'i in the Gemara, in Aramish, li'i means emes. Because in emes, it's takaf noyim ufna. Because the words beged the oil by sheretz is extra, it's superfluous, and we explain why. Michti, behold, since sheretz iskash l'shichva zera. Now we're going to a third parsha. We're going to Parshas Emor. For us, Hashgacha Pratis, right? Chitas of this week. It says in Emor, the Torah juxtaposes various sources of Tumah. Ish asher takes imenu shichva zera. Chavra, this is Vayikra Perek Chav Daled Pasuk Daled. And then in the next pasuk, in pasuk K, it says Ish asher yiga b'chol sheretz. So the Torah juxtaposes zera and sheretz. And now, says the Gemara, it says by shichva zera also the words koveged b'chol asher yol of shichva zera. So Oibazoi, once we have this hekish, the Torah already used the words beged v'oir by shichva zera. So beged v'oir b'chazar achon b'sheretz. Lovely, it's not needed for itself. It's needed to make the link between sheretz and mace. Shmamin olaf moyei. Now the Gemara says, good, accepted. By sheretz, it's extra. So it's mufna. Ba'akat mufna luchura only mitzad echad. Because the Gemara's question is based on the premise that the words beged v'oir and matois is not extra. Now, does it have to be extra on both sides? That's the machlokes. So that mufna mitzad echad, that even if it's only open on one side, not only lemeidim do we make the gzeira shava, but furthermore the ein mashivin, it becomes immune from refutation. You can't slug it up. It's a good. But el lemando amar, that mufna mitzad echad is not enough. Even though lemeidim, but if you have a kasha mashivin, so I just had my kasha. Ma'ika lemeimar. Again, the kasha is that that sheretz is matama kadasha. Mace is only matama because ayis. So how do you? In other words, it's harder. You need more of it to convey. So maybe it doesn't convey it to hairs made out of znav haparas navasus. So the Gemara says no. That the emes is the mace nami afnu yemufna for the same reason, because michta behold mace iskash l'shichva zera, the same hekesh you have between mace from Parshas Emor. It says in Emor again, hanegeh b'chol tamei nefesh. Clearly, tamei nefesh. That's tumas mace. Oy ish asher tezen shichva zera. And again, by shichva zera it says v'chol beged v'chol oir. And therefore, because of the hekesh, we would not need the words beged and oir and matos. So beged v'oir, the kos of Rachmana b'meis and Parshas Matis lamali. Indeed, that's also la'afnoye. It's extra. And now we have the Gzeira Shava, so we compare all the dinim one to the other. Now that we quoted the Mais and Matois, so we're going to get off for a moment, and we're going to learn the following. Says the Gemara, it says, Vanakriv eis korban Hashem, ish asher matzah klizov, that this is the hachlata, that the warriors, who none of them passed away, and there was a tremendous hatzlacha l'mayla miderech hateva. And when we came back, we said to each other, let us offer, a korban here doesn't mean the literal sacrifice of an animal, it means a gift, because they donated to the community a lot of that which they captured. What were they donating? Klei zahav, golden vessels. Etzada means an anklet. Vitzamid means a bracelet. Tabas, a ring. And then the pasuk enumerates or speaks about two other ornaments of women. One is called an agil and one is called a kumaz. These are unusual words. And now the Gemara is going to tell you what they were. Amar Abu Lazar. Agil, Zedfush shel dadin. It's some sort of it's an ornamental cast of women's breasts. Obviously, they gave it to the Beis Hamikdash. It was melted down. It was hammered out. Kumaz is the same concept as Zedfush. It's an ornamental cast of the Beis Harechem of a womb. Oh, so we put them all together. A lot to learn that with the fact that the Torah enumerates dafka these ornaments and they're all put together. Amar Rabbi Yosef, Yochi, now it's good. Hainu, if kumas taka means a tfus of the Beis Harechem, that's why the targum on the word kumas is machoich. Machoich means laughter, levity, because the Beis Harechem, davar hamevi, because the Beis Harechem is something that brings to levity or to laughter. Amalei Rava, says Rava, I don't need to have the targum migufa dikra shmamina kumas. If you have a word that's unusual, Rava's approach was it's Arashi Tevis. It's a compilation. Kumaz is a compilation of Kan, Makaim, Zima. Here is the place of lewdness. In other words, no one is arguing what the Ugl is and what the Kumaz is. And now let's go weiter. Moshe Rabbeinu was upset at the commanders. Now, if you read the Chumash, we learn Chitas. It says befedish in the Chumash. He was angry and he told them that, hey, you captured the women alive. These were the women that seduced us. The whole tzara began because of them. That's the pshat. We're not taking a mikra yotzei and a pshutai. On top of the pshat, we're going to learn a gavaldik drush. That Omar Rav Nachman, Omar Rav Baravua. That this is really, why did Moshe Rabbeinu get upset? Oh, Moshe Yisrael. Shema chazartem likilkulchem arishain. He suspected them, not that they kept them alive. Maybe you sinned with them again. Now, why did he suspect them? We'll see in a moment. The Gemara will speak out because they brought such generous gifts. This is for people that are in the business of accepting donations. If someone gives you a donation, maybe the donor sinned. Why would he give you such a donation? That's the logic over here. So Amru Loi, no, so they told Moshe Rabbeinu, none of us sinned. And we'll prove it to you. That Loi nifkat mimenu ish. Ish means that they knew that if one of them would have sinned, the Pleil Mamash, God forbid, with the B'nai Midyan, Nachamo, then not one soldier got killed in a battle. First of all, that's the pshat. The fact that none of us died is a raya that none of us died beruchnius. That's the Lenifka Mimenu ish. None of us fell. Amar Lahem, so Moshe Rabbeinu tells him, King kapara lama. Why do you need a kapara? So they told him, Rebbe, we sinned, not the way you think, but let me tell you what happened. None of us sinned b'poyel, but but we had the machshava zara that we had. So Moshe Rabbeinu, and for that they brought a kapara, and miyad v'nakriv es korban Hashem. And as we learned also, Tanach, the Rabbi Yishmael, the last line in the Amid, we're speaking about the Yidden after the campaign against Midian. Why did they need a kapara? And the answer is, Mipnei daf samach dalid amid beis shezonu einayim min ha'erva. Zot the Heilige Rashi, Lashain mazoin. Zonu, they sustained, which means shenehenu b'marasayin. And now we're going to close the whole thing up with Ogil and Kumas. That Amar Absheshes, Mepneim Hamana HaKos of Tachshitun Shebachutz, Im Tachshitun B'Ifneim, the whole thing the Torah could have written, they brought their clay off to Moshe Rabbeinu. No, the Torah has to tell you, an anklet and a bracelet and a ring, and then the Torah adds the Ogil and the Kumas. We're speaking about normal ornaments, and then ornaments that are connected to the private parts of women. Their Torah does it for a reason, like everything else. But here we know the reason. That even if a man gazes means that you're looking to have hana znus, even at the finger of a woman, on her ring, where she puts the ring, that's just as not good as looking at her makayim haturfa. And the whole thing was because of hirur znus. And the Torah wants to hirur znus wasn't only looking at the ugel and the kumas, what that represents. It was looking even at the anklet and even at the bracelet, even at the ring. Okay. Bite it to the next Mishnah. Says the Holy Mishnah. Yoitze Isha, B'chutei Seyar. We did mention this above. By the way, we're going to enter a little bit into the whole parsha of Sheitel. But let's go step by step by step. One of the ways married women would keep their hair covered is by tying extensions on their hair. And if you remember in the beginning of the Perek, we spoke out that something that she ties on her hair tightly or that she weaves in her hair tightly, items that if and when she has to go to the mikvah, she'll have to loosen. Those items, Chazal asked her to go out on Shabbos, because if she'll have to go to the mikvah that Friday night, maybe when she already loosens it, she might take it off. And again, she might take it off, she might not put it back on. But items that as they are milachatchila not that tight, and that is the extensions made out of hair then. They were tied on to the woman's own hair in a way that you never needed to loosen them. As is, they never made a chatzitza. The water went through them, whatever the vart is. So since they never would have to loosen it, because it never creates a chatzitza, so she is allowed to walk out with it always. And now the Mishnah is going to enumerate 3 types of extensions that were used then. Bein mishala, whether it's her own hair, and by the way, that's taka the halacha, that a woman can wear a sheitel from her own hair. The whole concept that we learned in brachas, right? That seir be'isha erva, it means when the hair is connected to her body. But coming back over here, whether she's putting on extensions from her own hair, Bein Mishal Chaverto, if she's using someone else's human hair, and even Mishal Behema. Mishal Behema, in our doyer, that's the synthetic sheitlach. That was the cheaper sheitel. All of these three, if she wears it, she can go out with it on the street. There's no fear. Again, it's all about the chatzitza. There's never a chatzitza. She'll never loosen it. No problem. Weiter, contrasting what we learned in the first Mishnah, Daf Nun Zayin, Weiter says the Mishnah, that if she has a toitefes, a frontlet, or if she has a sarvitin head bangles, these are golden ornaments that she had on her face, on her cheeks, on her forehead. If they are tfurim b'chavul, chavul means, tfurim, comma, if they are tied onto her hat, then we're speaking about a married woman, even though these are beautiful, yeah, a woman would take off their ornaments to show it to their friends, but a woman would never uncover her hair out in the public, so there's no fear she's going to take it off. And this says the Ramah, that if it's a single woman, a single girl, and she's not yet obligated to cover her hair, she may not go out with these ornaments, even if it's tied onto her hat, because she'll take off her hat. She's not uncomfortable to reveal her hair. Okay, back in the Mishnah. Chavul, if you remember, we had a machloikas, we had a doubt, and then we had a question, is chavul some sort of emblem of a slave? Here, Rashi says chavul for sure means the other option. Here it only means one thing. Chavul is that under their hats, see, if a woman had, her hair was shvach, was loose, was sparse, and for her beauty, she wanted to give off the appearance that she has more hair. So there were different techniques. One was to wear a chavul. A chavul is some sort of woolen cap. She put a hat on top of it. So a chavul, and we learned that even though it's under her hat, but she's able, so with one hand, she keeps her hand under her hat. With the other hand, she can take off the chavul. And therefore, it's also usher to go out with the chavul in the public domain. And as we mentioned in the intro, as a klal, according to our Mishnah, all of the items that a woman midrabanan may not go out in the Rishus Harabim, she also may not even go out in the Chatzir, with the two exceptions here. That this ornamental woolen cap that would hide the fact that she doesn't have that much hair. Or there was another solution. Pe'anachris, my friends, is not what we call today, not a sheitel of today. Pe'anachris means, again, a woman is covering her hair with a hat. But you can tell when you look at such a woman that she has her hair is sparse. So she has like one lock of a sheitel. She has a little bit of fake hair that she would put under her hat. Oh, now here, see the chavul she would show off because the chavul itself was a beautiful woolen cap. The pei anachris, I'll give you a good mashal for us chevra. Today it's called, I think, a toupee. Many people, when they wear a toupee, it looks so much like a fake that people make fun of them. So the pei anachris issue is that, yeah, it's a lock of hair, but it looks so not natural that sometimes other women would laugh at her. She's wearing a hat anyways. So here there's a fear that she's going to be laughed at and she's going to remove it. And taka, she may not go out with this type of hair extension in the Rishus Harabim. But you know what? Who laughs at a woman? Other women. Her husband will find her beautiful. And as we'll see in the Gemara, these are the exceptions. She is allowed to go out to the Chatzir. That's the Mishnah. Weiter, another few dinim in the Mishnah. The mukhsha ba'azna, if a woman, let's say, has some sort of ear infection, and she puts in her ear a shtickle wax, or a wad, a material that absorbs the wax, and it's in her ear. Says the Mishnah that she is allowed to go out with this into the Rishus Harabim. Also, mukhsha b'sandalo. Mukhsha b'sandalo would mean, and we learned, remember the sandal hamasumar, it was a wooden, imagine you wear wooden shoes. It was uncomfortable. So they had what we call today an orthopedic insert, or some sort of insert for comfort. Then they put a mukh, they put a shmata. She's allowed to go out with that shmata. Also, ubemukh sheiskina lenidas. If a woman, this is not the mukh of halacha. This is a woman is a nida while she has her flow. She doesn't want for her garments to get soiled, so she has some sort of mukh, right? They call that protection, so her garments should not get soiled. These are things that she may go out into the Rishus Harabim. Weiter, pilpel. Pilpel is some women then, or men, if we would have bad breath, so to combat the bad breath, they didn't have Listerine, they would put a peppercorn in their mouths. That was the solution. So pilpel, And or another issue, ubig galgal melech. Galgal melech means a lump of salt, which is today, if your tooth is hurting, you go to a dentist. It's terrible, right? What's the Gemara called ke'ev loy ke'ev shame, we learned. But the solution then was to have salt in your mouth. That took away the saltate, or the salt was so disgusting, you forgot about the toothache, you just focused on the salt. However, it worked. So she's allowed to walk out with a lump of salt in her mouth, or, and anything else that's put in her mouth for medicinal purposes. When it comes to eating, we may not go out with food in our mouths, that we know. That's called carrying. But she's not eating any of them. It's in her mouth, like we said, for bad breath, for pain in the tooth. She is allowed to go there midin toida, but Chazal put a certain limitation. And they said, that if she already put this pill in her mouth before Shabbos, stayed in her mouth, then she can go out with it. But lachatchila, to put it in, she may not. Now why? So middle of the second Tosfos, mamash and mitten, says Tosfos, lochein nirali, ubelvat shelei titel lachatchila mipnei shenira kema'aremes lohitzia. An observer will think the emes is she wants to carry the peppercorn to her shachet, to her shchenta. But you can't carry, so she's making believe as if she has bad breath. It gives that appearance. Or, to word it differently, an observer will think that you are allowed to carry food in your mouth, even if it's not for a medicinal purpose, and you may not. Marasayin. So, lechatchila, don't put it in, but if it was in, you can leave it. And now the Mishnah adds a detail. What happens if it was in before Shabbos, but it fell out on Shabbos? Fell out on Shabbos. So if you remember, for example, the whole sugi of hatmana, what did we learn? That if you were matmanit, from before Shabbos, then when you take it out, you can put it back in on Shabbos. That was the whole word. Here we don't say that. If it was in your mouth before Shabbos, but if im nafal, then putting it back in means you're doing it again lachatchila. It's not a sign. The observer won't know that it was there before. They're going to think you're making this harama. The im nafal loy sachse. And the final din of the Mishnah, which is a machlokes, shein toiseves shein shel za'av. We will learn the pshat in the Mishnah. It's one case. Toiseves means a false tooth, a false golden tooth, meaning it doesn't look like the other teeth. So in certain countries, we had, remember the guy that worked by us on the shul? He had like these stars on his teeth. It was a beauty. In the times of Chazal, like for us Americans, no, it's not beautiful. If you have a golden tooth, you don't smile with your mouth open. Again, the fear is that other women will laugh at you. So Rebbe is matir. It's a tooth. But the Chachamim Oisrim, here again, I'm on inside the Rashi, the Kivim de Meshuna, Mishar Hashinaim, since the gold doesn't look like the other teeth, Dilma Machaychi Allah, other women will laugh at her, and Vishakla Mehasam, she'll take it out of her mouth, and Umantala Biyada, and she will hold it in her hand. Let's stop here on Rashi, and let's start with the Gemara. So the first din in the Mishnah was, a woman is allowed to wear these types of hair extensions, like we explained, because it never poses a chatzitza. But the Mishnah gave three cases: her own hair, chaverta here, behema here. Why did the Mishnah have to give all these three cases? Vitzricha, because the yashmin and dida. Then I would think only mishum delay ma'is. It's not repugnant. It's the most refined. It's a custom-made sheitel. So that for sure she'll never take it off. Avol chaverta, comparing hair of chaverta with her own hair, it's relative considered ma'is, and maybe again, maybe she'll be laughed at. She'll take it off. Emaloi. V'yashmin and the chaverta, at least the bas minahu, at least it's human hair. Avol the behema, imagine you put on your hair extensions from behema hair, the labar minahu, right? These old style sheitlach, emaloi, tzricha. But why is she allowed to wear it? That's the word. See, chaver, it's important. If I have something on me and people will laugh at me, I might take it off if it's easy to take it off. But these hairs, it took them a long time to weave it in. So they made a big effort. So once you invested all that effort to put it on, and it's difficult to take it off, we're not afraid that you're going to take it off, even if people laugh at you. Like, we learned in the Bryce, you know what hair extensions is not okay? That a young woman cannot wear hair of an older woman. It means white hair. And likewise, an elder woman may not wear hair of a yalda. End of quote of the Bryce. So asks the Gemara, Bishlam is the Kana Bishal Yaldon. Why would there be a Havamina that it's okay? What's the Havamina? Because she's an older woman, but she's wearing non-white hair. She's wearing young hair. So even though the poil mamash is you cannot wear it because her older chavertas will laugh at it. Was Okay, but there's a Havamina because she would want to wear it because it makes her look younger. But why does the Baraisa even have to mention that a young woman cannot have hair extensions with old hair, with white hair? Of course not. Of course, people will make fun of her. So the Gemara says, Amai Genayullah. Gemara says, indeed, it was really not necessary, but there is a rule in Mishnayos and for sure in Baraisas that for the sake of symmetry, we write all the cases. Either the Tani Zekena B'Shel Yalda, Tananami, Yalda B'Shel Zekena. Then referring back to the Mishnah Kabul. Kabul here again doesn't mean, not according to anyone, the emblem of a slave. Here the Kabul is some ornamental woolen cap worn under her hat or a peanachris. Neither of these may be worn in the Rosh Hashanah, but these two may be worn in the Chatzir, and that's an exception. Amarav, and Rav speaks it out, all the other cases we had in this Pedic, it wasn't only an Isur of the Rosh Hashanah. It was for you not to carry in the Rosh Hashanah. But in extension, I think Tzvika, it's not Gezeda Legezeda. Lechatchila, they said, Asur Lotzis Loy Lochatzir, which makes sense because if you have something ornamental on you when you are in your Chatzir, you'll forget and you'll walk out on the street. However, this is the Mishnah. These two, Chutz Michavel Upeanachris. So says Rav. However, Rebbe Anani Bar Sasai, in the name of Rabbi Yishmael, or as he adds in the side here, right, Mishmei Rabbi Yishmael but Rabbi Yossi, he says, no, Hakoel Kekavu. All of the Isurim of Tachshitin, Midrabanan, that you may not go out with the Rosh Hashanah, all of them are permitted in the Chatzir. Now, it's certainly not mashma that way from our Mishnah. And indeed, the Gemara asks, how can you, Rabbi Anani, say it? It says in our Mishnah, Kabbalu Pe'anachris l'Chatzir. Why did the Mishnah only speak about these two? I mean, that clearly implies it's only these two. It's a Mishnah, how can these two? Now, why are these different? We'll get to in a moment. But the Mishnah, Dafka speaks out too. But according to Rabbanani Bar Sosain, Kasha. So the Gemara says, you're right. Rabbanani Bar Sosain is not following the Tana of our Mishnah. Rabbanani Bar Sosain, Mishmei Demanko Amaluhu, who is he quoting? He's quoting Rabbi Shmuel Bar Rabbi Yossi. So what? Rabbi Shmuel Bar Rabbi Yossi is a Tana, and he argues with the Mishnah. Your implication from the Mishnah is good gelernt. But the Rabbi Shmuel disagrees with it. Now, according to Rabbanani, at least we're consistent. The Isra is to go out in the Rosh Hashanah, never in the Chatzir. But according to Rav, Maishnahani, why Dafka these are permitted? So Amar Ula Kidei Shaloi Tizgana Al Bailon. Now you can ask, why punct these two? Why not other things? Good akasha. But the concept is that there has to be something, there has to be some sort of beautification that a woman is allowed to go out with in the Chatzir. And this is similar as we learned Kedatanya. And now we're quoting a pasuk in Mitzayda. Guys, this is the last pasuk in Mitzayda. Right? We had this a lot quoted in Masechtas Nida. V'hadava. Hadava means a woman during her menstruation. Binni dasa. A woman in the a menstruating woman when she is a nida. Now, guys, isn't that superfluous? If she's dava, we know she's a nida. Right? Nida or right dava. It's mamish double. So why the word, let's right, the word bini dasa is the chmamish extra. So on that, look at this. Zekenim harashonim amru. The earlier Zekenim said, based on this extra word, that means they learned, they made a halacha, they made a takana. That a woman, while she is anida, may not put on this eye makeup. Nor may she put on rouge, this sort of reddish tint on her cheeks. Nor may she even wear colored garments. Wow. And indeed, for many years, we, the Bnei Yisrael, we followed this takana of this Kenim Arashainim, that a woman basically did not wear anything that made her beautiful, including makeup, including garments, during the time when she's in Nida. And Velimaid. You're going to make her look repulsive to her husband. And the nimsa baila megarsha. Obviously, no one is divorcing his wife because of this, but this can be the last nail in the coffin. This is not helpful for shalom bayis. And therefore, Rabbi Akiva had the power to go back, to rescind the takana. What does he do with the words now, bini dasa? Elama, bini dasa. So Rabbi Akiva says, I'll tell you what God means. A woman is a nida not only while she's menstruating, she's a nida until when she goes to the mikvah. Now, some people think if a woman is 90, she didn't have a period for more than half of her life, or she's 100, or she's 180. So until when she goes to the mikveh, she's just as tummy as she was when she was menstruating. That binidasa tehei acha tove b'mayim. That's the pshat. That v'hadava means to flow. So Hashem has to make it clear that the dinim of a dava isn't only during the dava. As long as she's a nida, she is still Tameya, which is why it's so important in Miftzah Taras HaMishpacha, that ever spoke about that the mamash to any woman, no matter how old she should go to the mikveh. Koydem kol, like we just learned over here, she can be Tameya. And this is going to take away her tumah. And it's another thing, just to speak about that the Rebbe spoke out that al piruchnius, if a child is born out of a union in which then the woman didn't properly go to the mikveh, this is beruchnius poigim, somehow the neshamot of the child. And the Rebbe says that when a woman goes to the mikveh, listen to this, it retroactively is misakin that pigam. How great is that? Okay, weiter. Another ruling of Rav, and I think there's a link over here. Says Rav, Kol mokim she'asru chacham mipnei maras ha'ayin. What did Rav just learn above? Aside of the kavul, aside of the peya nachris, that lack of hair, that for her husband that made her look beautiful, she has more hair. Aside of that, she may not go out with the chatzar. The chashash is b'reshus harabim. We extend it. Rav said in a similar extension in Marasayin that whenever Chazal said this or that may not be done because of Marasayin, don't limit it. The Isser is only if other people will observe, or where other people might observe. But if a person is in a place where you know no one will observe you because you are in your private chamber, maybe that activity is permissible because there's no Marasayin. Zakrav name, it's extended. It's prohibited even in your private chambers. We learned this above, my friends, that veloy bezug afal tisha pakuk. Here we're speaking about, we learned this above, that if an animal has a bell around its neck. So there's two issues. First of all, any instrument that's mashmiya koil is usher to use midrabanan. That's the whole sugya. You can't use a midrabanan because if that instrument will break, you might fix it. Tosfos says on that bisman of Tosfos already, since none of us know how to fix utensils, so therefore this takana is limited meaning, and we paskin that way. But again, can you clap your hands on Shabbos, right? Can you dance on Shabbos? So before the times of Tosfos, when every average Yankel, Chaim Yankel knew how to fix instruments, there was a Isur D'Rabbanan not to do it. But then we are lenient like the Ramah that nowadays, based on Tosfos, none of us know how to fix utensils. So clapping on Shabbos is permitted. And by the way, the Rebbe clapped on Shabbos, and we remember Chadikov was clapping, and the Rebbe used to look at him, and the Rebbe clapped the way you normally clapped. Keshitas, the Ramah brings it down as Tosfos, based on the Tosfos. So there's a whole mashmiya koil issue. But then we learned there's another issue. Even if you have a bell that's pakuk, that means that you clogged up the clapper is not clapping. So nevertheless, we learned that you may not go out to the Reshus Harabim with it. And why? Remember, the Gemara said because of chinga. Chinga means because when people would go sell their animals in the marketplace, like any good salesperson, you want to attract attention. They would put bells. So the observer who sees your behema metazug might think you're going to sell it. That's called marasayin. And that's why you may not go out in the Reshus Harabim. Then it says in another Baraisa, second to last line, that poiki klo zug b'tzavara, that you are allowed to stop up the clapper if you are only going out in your yard. In the Chatzariya, hold on. According to Rav, kol ma, what's his exact words? That kol makim she'asru chacham v'pnei maros ha'ayin, then afilu b'chadri chadarim is asur. So if you can't go out to the Reshus Harabim, why are you allowed on the Chatzar? So the Gemara says, Tanoi, even though we could have said that Rav Tanu Palik, but we're saying that basically, but there are Tanaim before Rav as well. And what is that, the Tanya? We're going to learn one more din today, and Daf Samachem and Aleph. This is so relevant. This happens so often. What happens if a person was walking on Shabbos and it's raining? It happened to all of us, and our clothing gets soaked in water. Is a person allowed to spread out their clothing in the sun for it to dry out? Why not? Well, I'm doing nothing wrong, midairaisa, but there is a marasayin issue. What's the Marasayan issue? One may not wash launder garments on Shabbos, and an observer might think that I washed it and now I'm drying it. Marasayan. So it says, Taka de Braisa, top line, that Shoitchan B'chama, you are allowed to have your garments, again, the garments got wet on Shabbos from the rain. You are allowed to leave it out to dry in the sun, but don't do that in public. Don't do that in public, says Rashi, right? The end of the top line, second line from the top. For the observers not to say that Chapsam B'Shabbos. Clearly, the reason is Marasayan, right? Now, hold on. According to Rav Shita, as we quoted, that Kol Masha Osra Chacham Mepnei Marasayin Afilu B'Chadei Chadarim Masur, then it should never be permitted. If you can't do it Keneged Ha'am, then according to that, those approaches, you can't do it anywhere. And indeed, Rabbi Eliezer or Rabbi Lazar and Rav Shimon are Oisrin. In other words, Rav subscribes to the sheet of Rabbi Lazar or Rabbi Eliezer and Rav Shimon. You can't dry it out at all in the sun. However, the Tanach, and that's going to be aligned with the brises of the behemoth with the zug, in public not, but wherever you are not being observed, there's no Marasayan issue, and you may do it, God willing, to be continued. Good.
Rabbi, so according to the opinion of these Tanoim that make a difference between public and Chadri Chadarim,
Rabbi, we may dry our clothing outside without Marasayan.
I don't know who's speaking right now.
That's Kavan, and the Kavan's machine is a little slow. So one second, Kavan, hold on a second. If you can put your voice note on the app, because we can't hear you well. Then what were you saying?
So I'm saying that according to the opinion that says you make a difference between Chadri Chadarim and what's in public, so then Maras Ayin Taka only applies in public.
Mamish, yeah.
So according to him, if you have the TV on in your basement, no one could see it. It's not Maras Ayin.
Who said that TV is Marasayan to begin with? Who told you that? I already spoke to Gabriel about this. We never make up our own Marasayans. I'm not saying that it's Shabbos to have your TV on. God forbid. I'm not saying that. I don't think there's an issue of Marasayan over here. We never make up Marasayans. It's not Ein L'Davar Soif. Ein L'Davar Soif. Mamish.
No, we learned like if you're doing construction in your house, it's a Marasayan issue, right?
Yeah, of course. That's my construction. They said it.
Okay, so if you're having construction done in your basement and no one can see the guys, then you're saying, according to this opinion, it's not Marasayan.
Not only according to this opinion, but we talk a paskan that way. And that, it's not sheni. I don't know if you remember that there are certain poskim that when there's a huge hefset, I think that was the case of, we heard from Rabbi Tauber by the Reichmans in Toronto, that there are certain scenarios when there's a huge, there are other factors that are leaning towards being matir, then we'll talk and put this in as well. As an additional factor, that there are those who say that the Chadri Chadarim is mutter. It's a building for mitzvah. You have those. It's good. You need to get it off to be mattered, but you have that even in Shulchan Aruch. If you're building something for the community and no one will see you, then you can rely on that. But normally, by building, we're very careful.
Listen, I remember when we learned it with Tauber, he definitely said watching TV was Marasayan. He said for sure.
Okay. First of all, I accept that he said it.
And he said the Chadri Chadarim is usher. That was his whole thing.
The reason why I'm skeptical and I stand corrected if that's correct, I'm doubting that because in the times of Chazal there wasn't TV, there wasn't radio, you didn't have these things.
Right.
And that's the approach. We never make up matter of science. Could be it's a Hasidish gefil. It doesn't look nice. I get that. I'm not saying you should do it. But
so if you were sitting in your car on Shabbos in front of your street, you wouldn't say that's Marasayan? If you turned off the lights in a way where you're not violating Shabbos, but it certainly looks like you're in your car. That's called making something up.
I don't think there's any Marasayan by electricity. We are allowed to have electricity, not for food, for other things on a timer. We can have electricity. We can have our sprinkler set for Shabbos. I think maybe you turned it on. Watering grass is Isur D'Oraisa. I really think that anything connected to electricity, there's no Marasayan, because in the times of Chazal, you didn't have electricity. I think, halachically, I'm not saying there's the spirit of the law, people can apply it. There's nothing wrong for Rav saying that it doesn't look good. But that's when he gives a shiur. I think if someone is asking him halacha l'maisa, I really don't think there's not assigned by any electricity.
Rabbi, a couple of days ago when I asked you on electricity, you said to me when closing a circuit, not a circuit, you told me it's not fire. It's not the usual bishul.
I don't know if I told it to you, but there's a machlokes whether it's fire or not, but it's a machlokes.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right, Chavre.
Shkach.